Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Husbands Know Better. I'm Ben Husband. This is my brother Daniel Husband, our dad Daryl Husband, and we got
And
a
we have
surprise visit.
Ollie today. We've got Ollie. Come here. We have Ollie today.
Oh, that's really nice.
Look at that.
Just as we start recording, we got this thing.
Ali, what's your take on the NBA Finals?
One
Hmm,
might say
lots of
OKC
licks.
had a rough game one. Yeah, it's gonna be a great episode. That was crazy. These ear scratches, though.
I guess not.
You guys just keep on talking. Somebody's on cloud nine right now.
Okay.
All right, we're here to talk, like I said, some NBA Finals action. So it's Sunday night. The Thunder and the Pacers are kicking off game two. We had a wild game one where shockingly the Pacers beat the Thunder with the
Barking
last second
mad.
shot by Halliburton.
Barking
I
mad.
I have not I've watched that play so many times over, and I can't believe that he got such a effortless shot off to close out the game. I also can't believe that the Pacers came back from that big deficit that they had. And I just went crazy and looked up a whole bunch of stats about that game one. But before we go into that, let's get some thoughts from you guys. So Daniel, what are some of your thoughts on game one, how it's gone so far?
I mean, which stat would you like to talk about, Ben? I mean, that's the one I'm talking about. Are we talking about the 6 to 25 turnover ratio? The fact that OKC led for 49 minutes, 57 seconds, and what 7/10 of a second,
Pacers led for a whole point 0.3 seconds during that game.
3/10 of a second. Gosh, Shea had 38 points. Granted, the whole other team
So fun
looked a
fact,
little.
fun fact about the lead there. So there's only four other teams in NBA history that have won a playoff game despite only holding a lead for 30 seconds or less. And there's some pretty sweet teams in here. So we've got the 99 Spurs, the '01 Mavs, and the '02 Lakers, and now the 25 Pacers. So that's some pretty good company to be in.
I who are the only teams that went on to win the championship? It was the Spurs, 99, Mavs didn't win in 01. And then
And
who
the
are the other?
Lakers won in '02.
Oh, no, too. Okay, that was a no, 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 no. That I was gonna say, but that wasn't the year with the Derek Fisher shot, but the Derek Fisher shot was the year they
It's point 4 against Sacramento in the Western Conference Finals.
Yes, it was.
no, that was Robert Horry that did that. Fisher
There
was the one
were
that had the point 0.3 corner, almost corner, or was that like
It was point 4, but wasn't it still Sacramento?
It was still Sacramento. I want to say it was the same series.
I thought that was San Antonio.
I could
I
be
thought
wrong.
that was San Antonio
I'm never
because
really sure.
they
All
went
right.
on, but I remember I felt I felt there was some redemption because they ended up losing to the Pistons. I don't know. Everything's all blending together. Keep on going. That shot was crazy. I I will say this. I think not to go too much on all my thoughts on that. I, I saw somebody point this one out, and I thought this was great. Um, it was a very gutsy move for Carlisle to not make to not call a timeout when Shea missed that 10-footer and just let him play it out. So many coaches would call a timeout, drop a play, and it'd be like, oh my gosh, look at this great play that Rick Carlisle drew up for them to seal the deal, and he just let him play, which honestly I think was a better was which was a smart move because I don't think they would have been able to pull off a shot allowing OKC's defense to set up
Right.
properly. They were having to set up on the fly, and you can get them a little bit more caught off guard. So I think I think uh, mastermind idea was just Carlisle trusting he knew who was going to make the shot, take the shot, and ultimately win the game.
Yeah, you look at the shot that Hallie ended up getting off, and you could almost see how OKC wasn't prepared. They were
Mhm.
probably expecting them to call a timeout. So then when they're having to play transition defense, it's not even like the Pacers flew up the court. They took their time. They had, what was it,
They had 8 seconds.
Mhm.
eight seconds? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had time to get it up the court, and then when Hallie pull up that jumper, they just look totally lost on defense.
I mean, it makes sense though. I mean, eight 8 seconds is a lot to create a shot, but as a defense, you got to start clamping things in because if you try getting that defense, that you know, I mean, granted, he already did anyways. Halliburton's going to blow right back past you. So
I mean, maybe they should have. I'm trying to think of
not
the.
blowing their lead.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a zillion things you could have done, but I mean, maybe before SGA missed that gimme shot, 8-footer, maybe Dane Gold calls a timeout. Okay, guys, before we set up this play, this is what happens if we miss. Blah blah blah. I mean, because OKC wasn't prepared. And I think that was the best thing that Rick Carlisle did was, keep them on, on the backs of their feet, their heels, whatever. And although you gotta wonder, hey, why don't we double team SGA? Let's see, he's put a dagger into Milwaukee, Cleveland, and the Knicks.
You mean
let's
double
make
team
some.
Halliburton, Dad? That's at SGA.
Did I? I'm so sorry.
Did you say it? You said SGA?
I did. I'm so sorry.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I was
That
confused
was the whole
which
thing
team
with
he was playing for.
that was the whole thing with the transition defense, though, is that they looked very unprepared for what happened.
Mhm.
Yep. But I mean, come on. Hey, everybody, get that guy. Leave Lou Dort out in the open or something like that, or Alex Caruso.
Yep.
Which and this is kind of a funny thing that I wanted to throw in. So they pull Chet Holmgren with 3 minutes left. Okay. And that leaves Alex Caruso as your de facto center, which is kind of, you know, between Siakam and Neesmith. They're both bigger than Caruso and Jay Will. So I thought that was kind of strange to put yourself in that position. And they really got out rebounded. They got out rebounded 56-39. Why are they going to pull the one big that can, tilt things a little bit your way? But they ended up paying for it with four offensive rebounds and two putbacks for scores. So they, in their effort of trying to slow down the avalanche, which it was too late, in essence, it backfired. I'm curious to see how tonight's game is going to go.
I
If
think
Let me
I think
just to see if he goes back to Holmgren and Hartenstein. Hartenstein, I guess is the right way to say it.
put the emphasis on it.
Hartenstein.
Yes.
But if he goes back to being big, or if he does put Kason Wallace back in the starting lineup, which that was the first time he'd been in that they had him in the starting lineup the entire playoffs. So lack of familiarity, and maybe Hartenstein would have been able to at least tilt the rebounds closer to where they should be. 56-39 is huge.
An interesting thing. I think they should have started Hartenstein. He in 17 minutes he had 9 rebounds.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty big point of it. Yeah, Indy's a lot more is a smaller team, and I think that's where Dagnall was trying to counter them and seeing
Yeah.
if they could just run with the Wolves. But I don't think that was a good idea at all. And I mean,
No, why not make them play your game as
yep.
opposed to forcing yourself to play their game, which, I mean, and again, for up until the 9-minute point of I think it was 8:47, but of the fourth quarter, it worked. They were up by 15, but I don't know. There's something you can second guess on every single decision you make. But I think the 3 minutes to go and pulling Chet Holmgren for Kason Wallace was the definite killer because they just didn't have the middle covered and they just didn't have the familiarity. They usually have Holmgren in there for the end of the game.
So one thing to keep in mind is that they were getting lit up from three-point land. The Pacers shot 40% from three-pointers. And also they even had Miles Turner banging them in. He shot 40% from
When did he
three-point.
learn how to shoot? When did he learn how to shoot? Did you
When
see
he
some of
was
those shots?
not on our fantasy teams.
Oh my gosh. That's exactly what I was thinking. The one year I drafted him, I'm sitting there and I'm like, he was just terrible for me. And then I'm watching him and I'm just, when did you learn how to shoot? Especially the shots that he took. Did you guys see those shots?
Yep.
He's
He had one
taking
from the
shooting.
corner.
He's taking shots that you'd expect from that you'd see from
Halliburton.
SGA, Halliburton. You know, a shooting
Definitely.
guard.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm sitting there. Why is your center doing this? Your center has no business doing. I mean, he's knocking him down, so I'm not like nobody's complaining. I'm just critiquing.
Yep. Pacers also had six players in double digits points wise. So they were doing a nice job of spreading the ball around and they went five deep into their bench. Their last guy was still getting like 8 minutes. I didn't even recognize some of these names, but they were spreading everybody around. And you've got SGA on the Thunder side, putting almost 40 points, and they still had other guys in double figures, but not the way that Indy was able to spread the ball around. And
Right.
keep
It
in mind
wasn't.
too,
Go ahead.
keep in mind, Halliburton only had 12 points up until that point in the game. So you hand him the ball and, 14 points in the game's okay, but it's not like he was crushing them all throughout.
Yeah, but with
It's
8 seconds left, he's got as many game-winning shots in the last 5 seconds of a game as Kobe Bryant does in his career.
Uh,
If that doesn't blow your mind, that blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. I mean, uh,
he
and
has
LeBron's
three.
ahead of them, but I mean,
I don't
Kobe
remember if
played. Go ahead,
I don't
Danny.
remember if I said this to you. I don't remember if I said this to you guys or if I said it to someone else. But I went to bed. I ended up it was early. I had to go to bed earlier. And I went to bed and it was 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter and OKC was up by 14. I don't know, I put my phone down and I'm just like, you know, Indy's got them right where they want them. And I woke up, I like that was my last thought of that game. Indy, Indy's got them right where they want them. And I woke up because I woke up in the middle of the night and I checked my phone and my eyeballs rolled out of my head. And I was just like, I was stunned like anyone else. But also at the same time, I'm sitting there just going, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. They've embarrassed every single team they've played against in these playoffs.
I'm glad they
With
didn't
with
play up.
this,
So, interesting fact, the last time that a team overcame a 15-point deficit in the NBA Finals was in 2011. Would you like to know who did it?
it was
Was
the
it Dallas?
Mavs.
It was the Mavs. Would you like to know who the coach was that year?
Rick
Rick
Carlisle.
Rick
Carlisle.
Carlisle.
Yeah.
I you know, Rick Carlisle is a very quiet coach. I personally think, he's one of the oldest tenured coaches out there. Granted, he's had his fair share of teams, but there's been a bit of me through these whole playoff runs that I know it would just completely destroy the sanctity of the trophy and whatnot. I kind of feel like he's like been the MVP of this run. You
Maybe.
know, y- so I heard this question posed. Who's your MVP for this? Who's MVP for Indy for game one?
I mean, how do you not
I
put
mean,
it on the guy who made the game-winning shot?
Put it on the guy.
God, I know.
What
I mean,
about
But he
Siakam
only
was
had
nine?
14. He only had 14
Si-
points.
Siakam was 19 and 11.
Yeah.
I
He's
mean, I
been
know.
quietly also putting together a resume, and he won.
Eastern Conference Finals MVP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Is he's consistently the best scorer and the best player on the team, and Halliburton has these insane moments.
triple double with
Whether
no
it's
turnovers. Oh my gosh, and that was insane. I
yeah.
know that was last round, but and that's
One
it.
thing about the turnovers, though, let me just jump in,
Sure.
is about the last game, is that OKC. Um, oh no, oh I'm sorry, I was going with steals, not turnovers. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. I
No
mean,
worries.
they didn't get the points that they needed to off those turnovers, though.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. They didn't convert.
Yeah,
They had all those turnovers and they couldn't convert them. Or sorry, OKC nabbed all those.
Shot lower
19
than
turnovers.
20%.
I was just going to say 19 turnovers in the first half, and they only had a 12-point lead. That's kudos again to Carlisle for transition defense. Okay, we screwed up. Hustle back and stop it. OKC.
And
I think
OKC could never extend the lead. Oh, I'm sorry, Ben. You keep on getting cut off. You go first.
that's all right. I think last time we were talking about how much Halliburton wanted his game to be in transition. I think Daniel, you had a story about him saying that that was going to be his thing, is that he was gonna push the ball.
That was McConnell. Sorry, buddy.
Ah,
Sorry. McConnell was the one that was that's like, I'm gonna pick everybody up 75 feet. But I mean, I think um there was I will say this though, for FIBA, obviously last year was the Olympics, but the year prior was FIBA, um it was a FIBA World, um for basketball. My gosh, I'm sorry, everybody, I'm tired. Um Halliburton didn't start for that team, but whenever he came in, he just made the whole team run. He was just like, guys, I'm on the court. We're gonna run and we're gonna just score a whole bunch of points. And it was just electric whenever he stepped on the floor. He just came in and he just pushed transition. So I will say that when he when you get him in the game, he's gonna push transition. So I think that's something to know. And, I guess we should have seen this coming. I think it's just impressive that they've been able to maintain this in the playoffs during this whole run, because
Yeah,
it doesn't happen,
yeah.
yeah.
which is
Uh,
encouraging. It really is encouraging.
Something to note about Halliburton. So the three lead-taking shots that he's had in the final 5 seconds this postseason are the most in a single playoff run ever. So, Dad, when you were talking about Kobe and LeBron game-changing plays, he's up there. He also now has the highest shooting clutch win probability added. So the WPA stat that is like really complicated. It takes into account a bunch of different shooting and scoring stats. When you look at their last 5 minutes of play, Halliburton has a 2.48, and the next highest person is LeBron James in 2013 with 1.86. So
Golly.
he is like out. It's unbelievable how far ahead he is of everybody else.
Wow. Look at them with the metrics.
That's right.
I
Loves
bet
his
you would
math.
understand it if you had to rip it all apart and put it all together again.
I did spend about 5, 10 minutes reading through it, trying to make heads or tails of it.
And let me guess, you were trying to bounce it off of Michelle, and she's just looking at you cross-eyed, right?
She very patiently listened.
What a nice lady. Um, who wins game two?
All right. The score is tied. There's 3 minutes and 12 seconds left in the first right now.
It's the first quarter,
I
man.
am not putting my name on any predictions. I am sorry.
I had the Thunder in six, and I still think OKC is going to pull it out. But I will say after game one, I'm not as comfortable with that prediction. Um, I
The
mean, the Pacers are just this fiery ball of chaos. I just you can't predict them. You can't predict them. You know, they were the second best team in the NBA after the All-Star break. The only other team that was the only other or they were one of the best teams in the NBA after the All-Star break. OKC was the other one. Take what you will with that.
How about this one that just kind of throws things off a little bit? So OKC won 61 games by double digits this year. So that means they only had 6 games where they were moderately challenged. Is that fair?
Mhm.
Okay. So when things get okay, so and they ended up 67 and 15. So that means in games where they're not blowing the opponent out, they were 6 and 15. So they don't look so good when you keep it close.
well, and look at what the Nuggets did to them. Who
Yep.
had the Nuggets taking them to 7 games?
I
And
did. I did. I did.
I don't even remember what I had, but
I think I had OKC in 5, and I think you had them in 6, Dad, if I remember right.
okay. I don't know.
I will say when I said OKC and when I said OKC in seven, I was just saying I was putting a really insane thing out there. But I mean, these playoffs have been crazy. So, this is one of those seasons where anything can happen.
Yep.
It is just one of those, you have a Cinderella team and you have this juggernaut, and it's really fun to watch them go at each other's throats. Yeah, I think this is exactly what everybody needed.
I would have taken at the start of the series, I would have taken OKC in 5, especially after they manhandled the Timberwolves. The Pacers won a lot of close games against the Knicks, and that's kind of the lingering question that I have here is if the Pacers, uh, you can only overcome deficits so much. You can't get behind 15 and expect to come back every time. But yeah, here we are. They've done it in every series in the playoffs so far. So I would say OKC in 6, but I would be very nervous to see how that plays
I
out.
just something to point out. Indy's only got to win 3 games.
Yep.
They got to win three out of.
And
They
they
got
have
to
three
win
home
three
games
out of.
left.
They got to win 3 out of 6 games. It's not insane,
Yep.
and 3 of those games are in Indy. Even though say what you will about the New York series, but I don't know. Like, I still want to. I'm still sticking with my OKC in 6, but you can easily talk me out of it.
I I got one more stat that I didn't use here. Uh, so the last time that the Thunder lost to an Eastern Conference team at home was back on March 12th of 2024.
That
Against against
well,
who?
wait a minute.
Oh, good
Was
question.
that Milwaukee? Was that the Milwaukee one in the
24,
This was
Dad.
last
March
season.
24,
This was last
2024.
season.
no, November of 24 was this season?
March 2024. March
Oh, I thought you
12th,
said
2024.
November.
March 12th.
So sorry. I thought you said November. Don't know
I
how.
will say I will say it is kind of funny. I was thinking this. It is interesting that we have the two losers of the Emirates Cup of the last 2 years in the championship.
I left out the most important part of that stat was that it was to the Pacers that they lost.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Yep.
I
Oh,
mean,
that's
they
funny.
SGA or OKC lost to Milwaukee in the Emirates Cup this year.
Yes.
And Indiana lost to LA in the Emirates Cup last year. And
Crazy.
both of those teams got knocked out in the first round this year.
Pretty handily, actually.
Yeah, neither series was close.
Indy may have curb stomped the Bucks into oblivion. We mentioned that one.
Yep. Dad, what's your prediction on the finals?
Okay, well,
He's too much of a
initially
wuss to
I
say it.
said I was your
Say
cousin
it.
Ian heard me say OKC in 4.
Oh,
So
you didn't put
I
money on that, did you?
no. But this way, I mean, if that was my original one, so I can't really. Well, I
No,
can't
you got to
stand
just
by
bid
it, and
on
I'm
it.
not going to predict tonight's game. I can't. I am not going to predict it because obviously everything got thrown in the garbage after what was it Thursday night's game. So
If if OKC only wins by like a couple points tonight, they're in trouble. I'll say this. If OKC wins by like no more than 5 points, I think we really need to be looking at this series in a different way.
good
I
point.
mean, I guess we already are, but I mean, if OKC only pulls it off by 5 points,
What
we'll
if
see.
Indy wins? I mean, if
Yeah.
Indy wins, then it's going to just turn the earth upside down.
To be fair, the Bucks were down 2-0 or 0-2 against Phoenix. They were down 0-2. Dallas was down to Miami, or Dallas was up on Miami 2-0 back in the dark days of 2007, 2006. 2006?
6.
Yeah.
So first
Oh, San
quarter,
Fran was San Antonio.
first quarter just ended. OKC goes on a 9-point run to close it out, 26-20.
That's only 6 points.
Yep.
We'll talk. We'll talk when there's 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
How about
Talk
when
to me
there's
when
0.3 seconds left?
if there's zero point 0.3 seconds left and they're up by 10. I think we can safely say the game's over.
Yep. All right. Moving on to second topic here. Big news as the Knicks fire Coach Tom Thibodeau. This kind of blows my mind because he got them to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been to the playoffs 4 out of 5 years that he was there. They were kind of a rebuilding team when he came back in. And it sounds like Brunson was legitimately upset about the whole thing going down. So he had a great record with the Knicks. But then I remember who the Knicks owner was, and I settled on that this is Jim Dolan, and he is nuts.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Well, then I'm going to step right in on that one because he was in the end of season meetings with all the players. He listened to all the players and the people saying he really needs to play his bench more. Okay, and we all knew that on day one when he showed up at the door, that is who he is. So, and yes, that was evident, and it was too little, too late because they dug themselves at the O2 hole that they really couldn't recover from. But I guess in the exit interview, well, in Thibodeau's firing, it was Dolan making the decision, and so here we are, Jim Dolan taking over. He, you know, he had the sphere in Vegas that he was overseeing the building of it, so he was out of the way while the Knicks and Leon
Rose.
Rose are building up this great team. They get a steal of a signing from Jalen Brunson. They get farther than they've been in 20 years, and then they make a great trade for them. It worked for them and for Minnesota. And then the offseason comes. Dolan doesn't have anything to do, so he's going to fire the coach. And I thought that they were aiming towards Mike Malone. Here's the perfect
No
person.
way.
That's what, well, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking they want to be the first guy to get to Mike Malone because if you had a choice of either or, I would take Mike Malone. But now I hear that he's got, they've asked the Mavericks if they could talk to Jason Kidd, to coach them. They've talked to Jay Wright. I can't.
and Ime Udoka.
No,
They
they
want
did
to talk
not.
to, though I've heard they've been eyeing Ime Udoka, which is
There's
I think absolutely insane.
Oh,
there's
you
two.
gotta be kidding. Well, so everyone wants him. He's great. I would take him back in a heartbeat. Just make sure you hide your wives and your children way
Yeah.
far away from him.
I yeah, I've heard the Knicks link to the Jason Kidd thing I've heard linked to, which I think is hilarious because it would just mean that Jason Kidd is just so fed up with Nico, but that's a different conversation. Um Ime
Someone said
Udoka,
that he.
what's
Someone said
that?
that he was not. There was that press conference, but behind the scenes, he was not in on um the Luka trade. So maybe he
I
is
would
enough about it.
I mean Jason Kidd's smart. I think we've all figured that one out. So I I don't think Mike Malone would ever go for that because it show the them taking the player upper management taking the player side over the coach's side is literally why Mike Malone got fired. Uh he's the exact same kind of guy as Tibbs, mine not the won't play your bench, but he's not going to put up with the upper management trying to get their hand in there. He is just, you guys do your job, I'm going to do my job, leave me alone. And that's not how the Knicks function. And Mike Malone's great. I have the utmost respect for him. He's not the guy for the Knicks. I I would be floored if he comes in. I heard Frank Vogel's name mentioned as being a good idea for them. He's not bad. Um, Taylor Jenkins, I also heard suggested as a good one, but I don't know. I still question his offensive prowess. Granted, that team is more willing offensively than the Grizzlies, so
But
take what you will with that one.
his defense was what really was costing the Grizzlies when he departed was because they were giving up points.
Yeah, but a lot of that could have been from the team's frustration with the new offense, and we technically did have a new guy set in defense. Not not saying that Jenkins' hands are clean, but I think there was just a lot of situations that went poorly. But Jenkins is a phenomenal defensive coach. I don't want that to be taken the wrong way. He's an excellent defensive coach, but I don't think they would go for him anyways. I heard this comment saying that James Dolan doesn't even know who Taylor Jenkins is, so there's that. Yeah, I don't know. I could see them poaching Jason Kidd. Like I said, Vogel I think would be a good pick, but I heard Ime Udoka linked in on the conversation, and I think it's hilarious. No way. That's
Here's
such a
a
Knicks thing.
here's something that might put a little clarity with the Jason Kidd thing. Okay, so where did Jason Kidd coach before Dallas? Milwaukee. Who is going to be the hottest commodity in the
Good
offseason?
point.
Giannis. And Giannis loved Jason Kidd. So if you can get Jason Kidd, and Giannis wants to go to a big city. So the only problem is the amount of draft capital that I think Milwaukee wants. But this isn't my take on it. It was someone who suggested it. But I mean, it's an interesting connection if you really
It's a
want to.
chess move.
Pardon me?
So
It's a really smart chess move. I can't I didn't even put that perspective in there, so I think that's a good one.
I had a similar take with Giannis. So with him being on the market and the Knicks possibly looking to add a piece, Budenholzer is also out there. So that could be another Giannis link to bring him in. I don't remember if Giannis was a fan of Budenholzer, but they had the championship with him. So certainly has the pedigree for it.
I don't think he had an issue with them. He liked Kid more, but I don't think he had an issue with them. I don't I mean I've had my fair share of takes on Bud, but I just don't think his they won a championship. So my point is isn't the strongest, but I just don't think he's the kind of coach that can win a championship. And that was why I was out on Jenkins when he finally did get fired. Was it late in the year? Yeah, but I was ready to move on from him. Jenkins coached under Bud. So their coaching styles and takes on things are very, very similar.
Interesting.
Rotations really is what I'm trying to say.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's all the time that we've got for tonight. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you in the next podcast.